My guest today, Annie Kortzen, is an octogenarian TikTok sensation with close to 500,000 followers. And for those who don't know what octogenarian means, I had to look it up. It means a person in her 80s. And so I'm so excited because she has so much wisdom to share with us. She is the author of the book, Annie, Humor, Heart, and Chutzpah from an Accidental Influencer. Annie was the recurring Doris Klumpus on Seinfeld, and she has written humorous essays for the New York Times, LA Times, and many more. Annie has performed her solo shows on 3 continents, and she was interviewed by none less than Oprah Winfrey, Mario Lopez, and Dr. Phil. So without any further ado, let's get into the show. Hello and welcome, Annie. How are you?
Hi, I'm good. Well, I'm good as can be because, right now in Los Angeles, this is not a very happy place
I
with what's
know.
going on. I mean, we're
Yes.
safe, but I have friends. I'm quite heartbroken. It's a terrible thing that we're going through right now. So I may not be my jolliest today, but I'll do my best
Yes.
to
And
brighten your day.
for our listeners, as we record this interview, there are, of course, a lot of fires in California. And so, yeah, our heart and prayers goes with all of them.
Thank you.
Yep. So, I wish I could send a little bit of that cold and, not snow here in Florida, but I know the East Coast has a lot of snow to kind of
We'd be
cool
happy.
down.
I know. Or rain. My husband is Danish, and I keep telling my Danish family, send some of this rain this way. They always have too much of it, and we never have enough.
That's right. I'm from Hamburg, and which is close to Denmark, and we have a lot of rain and a lot of dreary days. So I don't miss
Yes,
that, but for sure. So
right.
Annie, tell our listeners, I know what it means, but I want you to say, what does octogenarian mean?
Oh, well, it's just this strange thing that has happened in my life. I'm in my 80s. I'm actually 86, and I become a TikTok sensation, and it's changed my life in many ways. And this is not something I ever expected or ever looked for. It happened, as the book says, I'm an accidental influencer. It happened quite accidentally. And it's been a wonderful adventure at this part of my life.
Yeah. So you had a very interesting life. I mean, you've been an actress, you had an occurring role on Seinfeld. How was that? Tell us a little bit about your acting times.
Well, one of my themes of my book is always say, yeah, why not? If something happens and you haven't, I don't regret anything I've done. I only regret the things I haven't done. So I was just a bit player. I never had a big career as an actor. And one day my agent called me and he said, there's this new show. It's a couple of lines. And one of his actresses, one of my agent actresses, who was better known than I was, she turned it down. She turned down the audition because she said the part seemed too small for her. And my mantra is, yeah, why not? I said, sure, I'll audition for it. I didn't know what it was. I didn't know what the show was. I took my life in my hands to audition because I'm not a very good driver and I had to go on 5 highways to get there. But I got the job and my husband Benny and I watched the show. This was very early on. And Benny said, I don't get it. That's not about anything. And that became, of course, what made the show so successful. Now my husband doesn't go to bed without watching at least 2 episodes every night. And my role turned into a recurring role. And it opened up a lot of doors for me in the industry. And then they gave me a second role. I actually played 2 different roles. So that whole job changed my life and changed my standing in the industry. I've made a lot of money on residuals, even though I didn't have that many lines. So I often think about that actress who said, no, I don't want to read for this. It's not enough for me. And so what I always want to tell people, you never know what something is going to lead to, right?
Absolutely.
You just don't
Absolutely.
know. So if you have a chance to do something, just do it. What can it hurt, right?
Yeah. And there's a saying that we had in our industry is like, there are no such thing as small roles. There are only small actors.
Right. And that's true. And as I say, you just don't know what
Yes,
something's
yes.
going to lead to. So that decision opened many doors for me.
I
As a
bet
matter of
it did.
fact, when I started writing, I sent an article to the New York Times, and they bought it. I was very excited to be published in the New York Times. And the editor, he said, "Okay, I'll take it. We want this article. Now tell me, what was it like to work on Seinfeld?" So I think the only reason he bought my article was because he wanted to hear what it was, what, so
So, what was it working on Seinfeld? How was
it
it
was
working
very
on
pleasant. When you do a job, as you know from your theater background, it all starts at the top. If you have a pleasant, decent person at the top, then the work atmosphere is pleasant and decent. If you have a miserable tyrant at the top, then it's not a happy place. Jerry is a very nice, decent, respectful person. And so it was a very homey, friendly atmosphere on the set. And I still remained friends with some of them. I worked with Jason Alexander after the show. I played his sister in a play, and this kind of who have worked in the show. If we meet each other, it's like being part of a little special little tribe. To be a
Yeah, that's
Seinfeld actor, it's very rewarding.
it is. I can just second that. When you have a great crew and you work with people, I still am friends with people from 30 years
I'll
ago.
bet.
Yeah.
I know. Isn't that wonderful? And you know something? I mean, you're younger than I am, but I think it's one of the great things about growing older is that you have relationships with people that have a long history. You know what I mean? Friends who knew you before you were married, before you were mother, friends who knew your family, who remember your parents. It's wonderful. And now what's happening with me is, unfortunately, I'm at the age where I'm losing a lot of those friends, but I still have close relationships to their children.
Yeah.
So I now have another whole generation of godsons and young people that I've known since before they were born, who I'm still close to. And that's
Hmm.
also very rewarding as you grow older.
Absolutely. You mentioned something. You said you don't have any regret of what you did, but you do have some regrets of what you didn't do. What is one of those?
There are things I never learned. I never learned how to ride a bike. I wish I knew how to ride a bike. It looks so nice. And I never learned to be a really good swimmer because I was kind of afraid. I am kind of fraidy cat. I never learned to really drive or park a car. There are a lot of basic things in life where my life would be much easier if I knew how to do them.
Hmm.
So I'm just trying to think. Oh, and I was very shy with boys when I was younger. I wish I had started my love life earlier than I did. I've always been a late start. I've always been a late bloomer. So it's lucky that I've lived this long because now I'm having the kind of activity I wish I had had when I was 40 or 50. But it's okay. It doesn't matter when it happens as long as it happens, right?
Exactly. And that's why I am so excited to have you on this show today, because you are really the example of everything is possible, no matter what age we are, becoming that great influencer on TikTok now, right? And you also wrote a book
Yes,
about
thank
that.
you.
So tell us about your
I'm
book.
going to show. It's the Book of Annie, humor, heart, and chutzpah from an accidental influencer. And really, what it is, it's based on the things I talk about on TikTok, but it's expanded. So it's humorous essays about subjects that are important to me, whether it's parenting or dating or marriage or thrifting, which I've discovered is a big topic for a lot of people. I didn't know that. I've been a thrifter all my life because I was brought up poor and I always had to save money. That's part of how I live. And food and travel and just my view of life. Hopefully is humorous and hopefully sometimes it's also a little poignant.
Yeah.
And then brief observations about things. So it's just a fun, easy book to read.
Yeah, and I bet that reading it will also give, especially younger people, a little bit of a background. It's like, I never thought of it that way. And that's one of the things on my YouTube channel, The Baby Boomer Nation. I wanted to use this channel for us baby boomers to maybe give some other baby boomers some advice how they can still
Totally.
be active, but also the younger people, the younger generation,
Absolutely.
you
Well,
know?
that's a very brilliant observation. And this has been a big surprise to me. I never expected it. Before TikTok, as a performer, I did solo shows and did spoken word and storytelling things. And I always assumed that my audience were people like me, women, urban women over a certain age, educated urban women over a certain age. It turns out that most of my fans are much younger. And what they're looking for is exactly what you're talking about. They want to hear from someone with life experience. They want to hear from someone with wisdom. They want to hear from someone who's already faced a lot of the challenges that they're now facing.
Yeah.
And they're coming to me for that. And I think I have something to offer. I think I've learned from my own mistakes or from my own triumphs. And as you say, I have something to share with that generation. And when I'm on the fans that stop me, I'm always amazed at how young they are. Sometimes
Yeah.
they're even high school kids, which I don't get at all. High school kids, college kids, and Gen Z kids, people in their 20s. And I find that gratifying, very gratifying.
Because they see you and say, "Oh my gosh, look at her." I mean, so excited. She's talking about everything and so, so outgoing. It's not like my grandmother who sits in her chair and just waits to die.
Right.
Yeah.
No, I am not that little old lady, and you
No.
will not be either. That's for
Are
sure.
you looking to live longer, live well, and even live younger? Would you like to be a powerhouse of strength, stamina, and vitality as you age? What if you could even reverse aging at a cellular level? Vibrant living is our divine right. Remember when you could work all day and party all night, then get up the next day and do it again? The problem is, the older we get, the faster we age and the slower we heal, due to a natural decline in our body's number one repair system, stem cells. By age 30, they have decreased by about 50%, and by age 60, only a small percentage is still active, which leads to more aches and pains, less energy and stamina, slower recovery from exercise, fine lines, wrinkles, and hair loss, reduced sleep quality, decreased memory, mental clarity and focus, and weight gain, and increased inflammation. Does any of this sound familiar to you? If I can show you a safe and affordable way to change your trajectory of aging, would you be interested? Let me introduce you to LifeWave. LifeWave is a 20-year-old US health sciences research and development company that has created X39, a unique and patented form of phototherapy that stimulates the body with low levels of light. Welcome to the power of the patch. I only refer and recommend companies, products, and services that I can stand behind. My husband and I have been using X39 now for over 4 years. And let me tell you, from my personal experience, I have never had more energy, felt better, and looked better since using X39. So I want to invite you to give it a try and see what happened. I have the link in my show notes, so check it out. Nothing to lose, but everything to gain. Most importantly, your health and well-being. Now, let's get back to the show.
So,
Right.
what is the greatest lessons that you have learned in life?
Well, I'm going to put it this way because it's also one of the themes of the book. I'm going to back into it a little bit. All of my life, I have been criticized for being too talkative, for being too opinionated, for being too blunt about sharing my opinions. I was told that I did that too much. I was told it was not an attractive quality. These were not attractive qualities for women to be so outspoken. And I always apologized for it. I always felt bad that I couldn't be more feminine and quiet and just laughing at their stupid jokes, the classic way that women are supposed to be. Now, with TikTok, I have almost 500,000 people celebrating me for the same qualities that I always apologize for my opinions, for my sharing my opinions, for my honesty, for what they call my authenticity. And so the lesson I want to share with you is, and it took me all my life to learn it, do not be imprisoned by other people's negative opinions of you. I don't know if
Amen.
you've ever done that, but I
Yeah.
think we all have.
Oh,
I
yeah.
think we all have. Even as children, I'm sorry to say, some parents are bad at this. If
Yeah.
you tell a kid, you're stupid, you're lazy, you're sloppy, that kid's going to grow up to believe that they're stupid, lazy, and sloppy. You know what I mean? We believe what people tell us about ourselves,
And especially
unfortunately.
in that age when we are, young, we are like sponges, and some of the things
Absolutely.
goes into our subconscious mind and it
Absolutely.
gets stored there. And then we know or we wonder when we are older, why am I the way I am? And Annie, I can relate to it. I have always been this quote unquote crazy person. So my family lovingly calls me the crazy Sabina, right?
Okay.
But I was always outgoing and loud, but there were things, and I'm working through it still. It's like, and I just realized that pushing me down, it's like, be quiet, don't be so, and they say it egoistisch, so egocentric.
Oh my God.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh yes.
I didn't mean it this way. I was just always that entertaining person.
Oh, but you know something? It's very interesting. That's also a very Northern European cultural thing because my husband in Denmark, they have that. They say, "Who do you think you are?" It's not good to compete. It's not good to be ambitious and not good to talk about your accomplishments. There is this terrible cultural tradition of being, modest and quiet and apologetic. And I hate it. I really hate it.
Yeah,
And I think it's unhealthy.
it
And there
is.
are all kinds of complicated historical reasons for that. But you find that not just in Germany, but
Right.
in Sweden and Norway and Denmark and,
It's so interesting that you just said that. I still remember when we were kids, we have like a poesie album, like a little booklet with poems, and you give it to your friends, and they write something in it. You give it your family.
an autograph album. We used to do that. Yeah.
Okay, so my mother put in there, sei wie das Veilchen im Moose, bescheiden, sittsam und rein, und nicht wie die stolze Rose, die immer bewundert will sein. I think that's a Goethe poem, but it means be as, small and shy like the violet in the moss, and not like the rose who always wanted to be looked at. So that's what I got.
Well, I'm the rose.
Exactly. And that's where I am now. So the listeners, especially if you're younger, you might have to go through it and do some hypnosis or whatever, but there are those things. If you feel that you are stuck somewhere and you are not getting to your potential, you might want to look into that.
Absolutely. It's so funny that you should mention hypnosis because I have used hypnosis successfully for quite a few things, both for physical things, and emotional things. And I think hypnosis is really underused. It's a very, very powerful, I try to meditate. I'm not very good at it. Hypnosis is like meditation, but it gets you right there immediately. You
Hmm.
get into that state. And I used hypnosis when I was having really kind of a nervous breakdown. At one point, we got evicted. We had to move, and I didn't think we'd ever find another home that I loved, and I felt my life was over, and hypnosis got me through it. So I am actually a big believer. You have to have the right practitioner. That's
Right.
the thing.
Right, right. So it's interesting that you said that. And you obviously went through a lot of things in your life.
We all have.
Yeah.
Most people have, right?
Yeah. Did not put it on silence. Here we go. So, if you could go back to your younger self, what would you tell her?
Well, as I said before, I would say stop apologizing, be who you are, celebrate who you are.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know, be who you are with joy. I mean, as long as you're nicer to other people, right? As long as you don't hurt anybody, I think you have to be who you are. I like to talk. I am opinionated. Let me be that way,
Well said. Well
right?
said. Yes, yes, yes.
Right?
My goodness. So you are well into your 80s. And my question to you, and maybe you can answer what you do to stay healthy and to do all the things that you do. Do you have like a special routine or something that you do?
I have always exercised pretty regularly with weights and with class, you know, different forms of it. And I try to watch what I eat. I mean, I do those basic things that you're supposed to do. I'm not a fanatic about it, but I am concerned about health. I don't know if I've just been lucky. I have outlived my parents for sure. And so I haven't done anything radical or drastic. I try and move, I work out, and I try and watch what I eat in terms of not too much meat or fatty protein. I don't eat butter or cream or a lot of red meat but I'm not a fanatic.
Hmm.
And once in a while I treat myself to spare ribs or something fatty and delicious. Why not?
Exactly. And that's not bad at all. I mean, everybody has their own eating routine. But one thing I noticed definitely, when we grew up, everything that we ate was more
Heavy,
and
fatty.
pure. It is not so much,
Oh, oh, that's yes.
processed. And
Oh,
even the
that's
stuff
true.
with
I don't eat a
sugar.
lot of processed food.
Yeah, yeah.
So you
Even
are.
even the stuff that had sugar in it was the good sugar, not the high fructose corn
Right,
syrup.
fructose, yes. I don't eat that high fructose thing. And I don't eat fast food, or very rarely. I don't know when I was ever at a McDonald's you know, um, I don't go to fast food. I do try and watch all of that. It's silly not to. I'm shocked
Exactly.
when I see some people what they eat and what they think is just normal. It's not
Hmm.
normal
Yeah,
to have all that heavy fatty
yeah.
food.
That's the quote unquote the new normal. So, and if you just look at pictures from these and 60s and even 70s, and you see like a big heavy person, right? Back then you would have said, oh, they're fat. Now that's the new normal,
Oh, that in this
unfortunately.
country, yes, obesity is a real problem.
Yes, yes, it
It
is. Yes, it is.
really is.
But
It
it's very
really is.
comes down to eat the right thing, eat good and clean, exercise. You still exercise to this
And
day?
move. Oh, yes. Oh,
And
sure.
move. Yeah, yeah, move.
Sure.
Exercise, especially weight for our
With
generation.
weights, yes, with weights and with bands, you know, stretch bands. But I think, you know, when I go to Denmark, the Danish side is not healthy at all. It's a lot of meat and cheese and cream. It's a heavy diet. But you don't see a lot of fat people. And you know why? Because Danes get around by bicycle. The main form of transportation in Denmark
Yeah,
is bike. So if you're doing that and if you're moving that you're working off a lot of those calories. The Danes actually they live longer than we do.
yeah. And
But
actually, what's very interesting that you said that? Actually, the low fat diet is the worst that you can do for your health. The higher fat diet, like I eat butter and margarine is the worst because they found out that all
yeah, the bad
oil.
margarines. I use the Trader Joe's. It's just plant oil and water. But I know
Mhm.
the highly processed margarine is terrible.
Yeah, 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 yeah. So, but the brain needs fat. And there's a lot of times where people did all this fat free and low sugar, and then the brain maybe dries out. I don't know.
I'm a carbaholic. My problem is what I really like are carbs. To me, the most interesting part of any meal is the potato, the noodle, the pasta, the rice, the bread. That's really what I like. And I allow myself to eat it. I enjoy it.
Yeah. But as long as you stay healthy and you're moving around and also keep your
Yeah.
mind healthy, you know?
Well, I do all that. We play Wordle, we do crosswords, we do all these different. Now there's a new one. The New York Times has a game called Connections, which is so challenging. I pull my hair out every day, but we do it. And another thing, as growing older, what's been important to me is relationships with younger people,
Mm, yeah.
which is necessary because when you get to my age, as I said before, you're losing your peers. They're either dead or dying, a lot of them. So my friendships with younger people is very precious to me.
Yeah.
Still, I have friends who are still having babies, you know,
Uh-huh.
but because of the world I live in, the storytelling world and the theater world and the writing world, I tend to meet younger people and we learn from each other. We have a great time.
Absolutely. That is so important. So we can help each other to grow. And what you shared in your book is so helpful. What you shared today on my podcast is so helpful. Now, if you could leave one thing that I haven't asked you, the question that I haven't asked you, that you want my listeners to know about you.
You're putting me on the spot here. Well, this is just a practical thing because I don't know the future of TikTok. I am starting a YouTube channel. So if people want to see more of me, they can go to YouTube. I'm not sure how to answer that. I think I've told you that what's important to me is being yourself. And if you're true to yourself, you will find people to appreciate you. Not everyone. You will never get everyone in the world to love you. It's just not possible. And we have to accept that. I used to think that was important. I wanted to be liked by everyone. That's not going to happen. But if you're your authentic self, then you will find people who will respond to that. So I guess I'm saying just be you, be the real you with no apologies.
That is a beautiful way to end this podcast. Such great pieces of wisdom that you shared, Annie. And I'll make sure all the information will be in the show notes so people can get in touch with you and get
Great.
your book.
Great. Thank you so much, Sabine. This was really a pleasure. It was a pleasure talking to you.